my dear friends, and welcome back to another Star Wars news update. In today's video we have so much awesome news, and we're going to kick things off with the Bad Batch Season 2. So the Kiner brothers who do the music for the Bad Batch, they also did the amazing scores on the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, did an interview with Convor Call. On Twitter I came across a succinct list of what they went through in that interview and the different things they said, and from both a music score point of view as well as the plot, this sounds super exciting. So first of all, they said they just finished the Bad Batch Season 2 finale score when starting on Tales of the Jedi. They described the season as an interesting approach, took a left turn, and it's different from the previous one. They also talk about Sid and how all of her content was created during the lockdown. And now this is the big one. They reveal we're getting, quote, a really great moment with Cody. They say the episode goes to some interesting places with certain characters, including Cody, and they were told some, quote, interesting facts about the characters. Describing the Bad Batch Season 2 score, they describe it as eclectic, epic, and sad, and we know this kind of dark noir genre of cinema heavily inspired some of the episodes. They also describe these ones as wildly different, not afraid to take risks, and really do something different than Season 1, and they say, quote, it's not going to be what you expect. And finally, on the whole, they say, the show is going to be a good time. I'm super excited, guys. I really miss Clone Force 99, and luckily we're literally just under 2 months away. And so now, guys, some updates for Cassian. So as you guys know, we've been talking a lot about the Andor series. After episode 9, there have been a lot of interviews with the cast and crew, some new comments made by the likes of Andy Serkis, Tony Gilroy, and in my last 2 news updates, we've had brand new details for Andor Season 2. Well, today, guys, that trend continues, because just a matter of hours ago, Collider revealed when Andor Season 2 starts filming here in London. Now, as we know from Bespin Bulletin, it was always going to be in November, and Michelle Rejwan, who stepped down from her SVP position at Lucasfilm, is still producing on the 2nd season. In a new interview, Tony Gilroy confirmed that production begins on the Monday before Thanksgiving, so November the 21st. He explained he'd be flying out to London, be there for the first shot of the season, before coming back home for the holiday. In addition to what was revealed, Tony also confirmed his brother Dan and Beau Willimon will be returning to write the upcoming season, but Tony also confirms in the upcoming 2nd season, which is going to tie in directly to Rogue One, he wanted writers who were more of the traditional Star Wars fan variety, for which Tom Bissell is perfect. Now, speaking of Andor's connection to Rogue One in the next season, Collider also confirmed that we're going to see Yavin 4. Now, you might say that considering how Andor ties into Rogue One, this is the most obvious leak we've had for the show. Water is wet, the sky is blue, and Yavin 4 appears in Andor 2. It even rhymes in this no shit Sherlock poem. But it is still exciting nonetheless, because it reinforms the fandom and reminds us that this show does eventually lead into Rogue One, and I can imagine Season 2 is going to have a lot more connections, a lot more familiarity, as we also connect to A New Hope. So as I say, while Yavin 4 feels like a given, it's nice to get confirmation of the planet's appearance in the series. And the planet has obvious ties to the Rebel Alliance, Mon Mothma, and maybe if we're lucky, connections to Star Wars Rebels. We had an Easter egg of Chopper and the Ghost in Rogue One, and maybe this time, considering by then the Ahsoka series would have been released, we might get more live action Ahsoka and Hera Syndulla, but this time much earlier in the timeline, of course. And so now, my dear friends, before we move on to talk about The Mandalorian Season 3, one final thing on the Andor front. Denise Gough and Carl Sola, who played Dedra Miro and Syril Khan, sat down to speak with StarWars.com. Now, these two have been doing most of their press tour together, because ultimately the two characters are going to connect in a big way. We started to see that in episode 9, some of that romantic and sexual tension, and two people dedicated to the Imperial cause, enforcing law and order, and on the personal pursuit of power. The Andor antagonists are fierce and nuanced, two characters that at once are both villains but also regular people making dangerous decisions in their quest for power, and together they could be a potent force to track down Cassian Andor and the burgeoning rebellion, but actors Denise Gough and Carl Sola seem to be nothing like their characters. In a darkened room on the interview circuit, the two keep erupting into laughter as they try to describe their on-screen counterparts. So to summarize all of this, to just get to the meat and potatoes of this article, Denise Gough said, I want you to be very conflicted about your feelings towards Dedra. At first you're meant to trust her, but then, she says, quote, you think, okay, maybe I can't really support that. And the intensity of her fundamental authoritarian beliefs are just going to get worse as the series progresses. Carl Sola described his character in 3 very simple terms: driven, hungry, and power hungry. And he basically says, don't be fooled, Syril is every bit as intense as Dedra is. He says we're really matching each other at that level that they need to exist on, which is ambitious and intense. Their paths are about to cross on Ferrix, and I can't wait to see how it plays out. And so now, my dear Mandalorians, going back to The Mandalorian Season 3, yesterday we had even more news for it, but now Star Wars Newsnet have reported on something which we already kind of knew. Jason at MakingStarWars.net back in May confirmed that Moff Gideon is going to wear Mandalorian armor in Season 3, and this spurred on lots of fan theories that originally Moff Gideon might have been a Mando, even before joining the ISB. Making Star Wars also confirmed to us that Bo-Katan would be sporting a new look by the end of the 3rd season, majestic mythosaur Mandalorian armor, and now Star Wars Newsnet are corroborating one of those rumors. They say not only is Moff Gideon gonna have new armor and a helmet, but that helmet has black with red eyes on it, as well as Zabrak-like horns, very similar to Darth Maul, a former ruler of Mandalore. So if Moff Gideon was a Mandalorian at some stage, was he a Maul loyalist? And we've had this exact question in the past surrounding Emily Swallows, the armourer, because the armourer has Zabrak horns on her helmet, which might suggest she too was a Maul loyalist. Could Moff Gideon and the armourer have known each other once upon a time? That is yet to be seen. But I should say, guys, that while Star Wars Newsnet picked up on this, it was really Making Star Wars' original scoop. They also mentioned that in Season 3, Gideon will also be sporting a black and red jetpack. Okay, so as you guys know, every now and then I do these kind of POV things, where I literally just get a visual dictionary, a visual guide, that kind of thing, and we talk about a certain character, a scene, or whatever. I did this a lot for Rogue One in the build-up to the Andor series, but I want to do this with Moff Gideon because I finally recently got my hands on this, the Season 2 official collector's edition. Now, I didn't realise just how many gems there are in this book, some thoughts of the various directors, and they go through each character. Now, when it comes to Moff Gideon, I found something really interesting because this is focusing on Season 2 specifically. He was all about bringing the Emperor back, it's all about using Grogu's blood, he's after the child. Now, Moff Gideon actor Giancarlo Esposito has teased several times at this point that he is part of the faction of the Imperial Remnant that wants Palpatine to be cloned, but he teased there are others out there who do not want this. Now, in the end, it's the faction of the Imperial Remnant that does want Palpatine to come back that wins. They end up forming the First Order, but I'm curious to see how this all plays out. Now, the reason I bring up the season thing is because Season 3 is going to be very different from Moff Gideon. At the moment, he's in prison. In the trailer, we see Dr. Pershing with Moff Gideon's comms officer, played by Katie O'Brien, and it seems as though, and this is the general consensus, that they're trying to break him out of prison. Now, are Moff Gideon's ambitions for Grogu going to be the same? Are we going to go back to a Moff Gideon that goes back to his own roots? If he's going to acquire Mandalorian armor and outfit, his aims and ultimate goals might not just be the blood of Grogu, he might have other things on his mind. He's this kind of Imperial that wants all the power for himself. Even the way he dresses, he's got a very Darth Vader aesthetic about him, and I can imagine he was a massive Darth Vader sycophant back during the time of the Empire. So Moff Gideon's role going forward and the ultimate creation of the First Order is going to be really interesting. He's one of those characters where you're not really sure how things are going to play out. So some very exciting stuff about Moff Gideon in this book. They also talk about the Dark Troopers, and I think the Dark Troopers were just the beginning. If and when he does get out of prison, he's going to find other ways of attaining power and instilling fear in people, and that's going to be different factions of stormtroopers, but maybe he's got cloning projects beyond just our little green friend. I think Palpatine and the Snoke thing is the ultimate goal, but there are probably some other things, a lot of surprises along the way too. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below.